company to a $1 billion company over the next 10 years. Then there's other companies that are out there that part of that is growth. Again, it's got to be what are the objectives. Growth does not determine whether you survive or not. When we went through the Great Depression of the 1930s, in 1933 and 1934, many companies came out of that. Allstate was started. There were a lot of companies started during the Depression, but a lot of them also brought a philosophy because it came up to the Depression. What created the bubble? What created some of our recent bubbles? This growth at no matter the expense. You guys with me? Because it's all about the dividend, the stock, the retained earnings, and we're going to grow it no matter what, and it eventually blows up. And many companies back in the 30s when they came out of the Great Depression actually had what they called a low or no growth model. They wanted to be a certain size, make a certain amount of money, support a certain amount of families and employees, grow for inflation because it goes down, but they didn't plan on growing bigger than that. Companies are learning some of that today. It depends where you're at. But you grow by gaining new customers. You grow by gaining new vendors and offerings. You also grow by what? Not letting as many customers defect away that you've already brought into your door. Everyone there? So again, how do we go out? And here's what I talk about growth. How do we support that growth as we grow? Can we still offer the same customer experience? Can we still offer the same profitability? Or is your company, like many companies I work with, when we go and grow 10%, our infrastructure can't handle it and it brings the company to its knees. And then all of a sudden some customers that have been with us for a long time are no longer with us because we couldn't support them. Is that growth really paying off for you? The second part I see many companies do, I see companies become twice as big. They were a $100 million company and now they're $200 million. But I look at their bottom line, they used to be a 6% bottom line company and now they're 3%. Because their infrastructure, they're fighting more fires, and even though they're twice the size company, they have the same amount of money on the bottom line. If I'm going to grow 10% on my top line, I'm hoping my bottom line grows proportionally with it. If I double my top line, I'd like my bottom line to double, but many companies, it goes the opposite way. It's making sense with everybody? All right. So we got this growth. Now, last part, we'll get on this break. I like to draw this because, again, these two, sometimes if we're not careful and we don't balance them, they will conflict with one another. Hey, I just came back from Grant's class and that inventory is costing us money. I'm taking us back to where we started. And if we're not careful, we're going to put out an objective that says what? Cut the inventory down, reduce it, whatever it is. We've got too much inventory, increase our turns. And if we don't bring this into equation, what's going to happen? You're going to see that hurt, all right? So where I'm going is as we move forward, you will see me talk about customer experience. You will see me talk about profitability, and you'll rarely hear me talk about one without the other. Anytime I'm going to do something for one side, I'm going to make sure I understand what it's doing to the other side. And if I'm going to do something for that side, I'm going to make sure I understand what it's doing to the other side. And balance those two and put out objectives that say decrease inventory, but don't affect our customer experience. Decrease inventory, but don't drive up our transactional cost. I'm going to make sure those are balanced out there. And the last part, traditionally, most companies didn't play all the way over here. They were profitability traditionally. Profitability oriented, but they still understood customer experience. So they weren't all the way over here. Let's say they were playing the game here. Most decisions were based about profitability, but they had customer experience in their mind. Everyone with me? And a lot of you are still here today in that spot. 15 or 20 years ago, you saw many companies do this. They just said, hey, we're not all the way over here, but we're going to make customer experience at the lowest cost to serve our motto, our mission, all right? And they're going to go out there and do a stellar customer experience at the lowest cost to serve. And here's the magical part. How many of you get PAR results, performance analysis results? You belong to an association, and they take in all your numbers, and they send you back results. They break that into quartiles. 4 quartiles, least profitable, most profitable, based on return on total assets. So you got 4 quartiles. Who has become our most profitable companies out there? It's become very clear. The ones that have a shift towards customer experience at the lowest cost to serve, rather than just saying profit, watching that bottom line and that P&L and anything they can cut out of it, they're driving out customer experience at the lowest cost to serve. They have become our highest return on total asset companies. Also, what if you go back and look at that performance analysis reports? We're comparing yourself to other folks in the industry. When we go to the highest return on total assets, the most profitable 25% companies, we naturally think what about their turns? I just want to drive this home before the break. Well, they must be getting much better turns than all the others. That's why they're profitable. Everyone agree? If you go in there and look, their turns are the same and often less than the less profitable companies out there. And again, when I'm talking about these 4 quartiles, let me just make sure we understand what I'm saying here. They put them in here and they broke it into most profitable, least profitable, and most folks here. So you have 20%, 60% between these two and 20%. We're talking about these guys. Who's making the most money? Most of them are now here, not here, and their turns are the same or less than the less profitable companies. What's that saying they're doing with their inventory? Let's wrap it up with this in a minute. What makes us money in the distribution world? Let's make sure we're clear on this. What makes us money? What is it? Margin. I agree, but based on what? We sell inventory, you guys. We brokerage. It's that simple. We procure, we warehouse, and we sell. That's what makes us money. We make money by buying inventory, selling it higher than we bought it for, and hopefully that margin is greater than the operational cost to pull it off. That's what we do. All right? So again, these companies are investing in the right inventory, wowing their customers, charging them $1.27 rather than $1.25, driving, watching their cost of goods sold, delivering at the lowest cost to serve, bringing freight, transactional, and asset. They're the ones running 6, 8, 10, 12% bottom lines in industries that are traditionally and average half of that. Again, they just don't have a bunch of inventory. They have the right inventory for their customers. They're not out there. Their main objective is not to drive cost to carry to its minimum or turns to its max. It's to have turns the right number to feed that customer experience, which wows their customers. How many, just before we take the break, how many feel that their company, and again, I'm not way over here, I'm just to the left of this center where we used to be over here. Profitability is what drove our meetings. Customer experience is what drives Charlie's meetings. Profitability comes into it, but they talk about this. How many companies feel they've moved over that line? It's a whole different world when you get over there, isn't it? Agreed? That's what we're going to talk about. Now you get to pick. I'm not saying one is right over the other. All right? I'm just going to explain how they work together, how our inventory model feeds both, and you get to drive it, but I'm going to share as we're leaving. If you go look at results for the last 20 years, the companies that are playing customer experience at the lowest cost to serve are more profitable than the traditional approach of let's sell at the highest gross margin, don't worry about customer experience, and let's see what's there. They burn it up in fires, and that's where I'm going to leave you. A lot of you that are still in that profit world, not that customer experience, and turn that inventory, your employees are spending so much time fighting fires through the day, that's where that money's getting eroded. Any questions? Got 9:30. You set your clock accordingly, actually 9:31. We're going to take a 15-minute break, everyone. So we'll get started back again at 9:45. If we can get started on time, that'd be appreciated. There's a set of bathrooms right over here, and then there's also a set down at the end of the hall. Here, I'll just send it down to you. Can you pass that down to the end for me? Thank you. The second one, anyone? They're not that much, you guys. It's not worth it. It's over here. So if anyone on that side need the thumb drive? Now again, most of that, a lot of you got it on the second run when I zipped it. It was just too big for your servers to handle. Are you done with it, Bill? Did you already get it in? Oh yeah, you can come grab it at lunch. Bill wasn't giving that up, you guys. Who needed it up here? We'll get it for you, Bill. What questions before because we're going to take this big picture now. Customer experience, profitability. And I do this to start setting this picture that this should be the whole company. We're going to talk about inventory, but your sales world, your warehouse world, from the management, executive management, down to the firing line. This is the way they should be thinking about their company objectives. And then every department, every person should be able to come back and go, I see what I'm doing and how it feeds in the customer experience, how it feeds in the profitability or supports plan growth. And then we're going to take, the rest of this morning and bring the inventory model into it. Because if your processes, your methodologies don't feed into what you're trying to accomplish, it's just all whiteboard talk. Everyone with me? We've got to take this, what we're trying to accomplish, and now feed our day-to-day world into it to accomplish it. Any questions before we get going? All right. Now, one thing I like to talk about fill rate here, and over here on profitability. Got in a little discussion at the break, and I just always like to bring this up. Some of you aren't measuring fill rate, some of you are, but it's still customer expectations and perception. Remember the old term, perception is reality? So I'll watch some of you run back and get your fill rate report, and it's going to say 99 point, and you got a customer who's complaining, you can print it out by customer, and you're going to try to go to that customer and go, look, we're giving you a stellar fill rate. I wouldn't go and do that right off the bat because it's probably not right. If it was 99 point something, they probably wouldn't be complaining. Everyone there? Now, let's look at it one other way, though, before we move on. If I was to step outside your doors or get on the phone when your customers call, but somehow get contact with your customers after they place the order with you, and I say, how did this distributor do? They're going to come back, and a lot of them are going to say what? Great distributor, that's why I'm here. They're awesome. How's their fill rate? On time? It's great. But what we don't see is there's two different insides of these two different buildings. One building, I lift up the top and I look at how they're getting great, and they're doing it because they have profitability, longevity, and growth, balance. Management's on track with balanced objectives, creating a team. They plan, execute, measure. They have processes, tools, and education in place. They're getting great customer experience by the way they do their business. Everyone there, it just flows. Then there's another company, and I'll get a lot of smiles on this, that outside the walls, outside the door, the customer says, what a great company. But when we lift up the top of the building and watch what's going on, it's like one of those ant farms or something. You guys with me? It's absolutely amazing what it's taking to pull it off. Oh, we don't have everything, so we premium freight it in. We steal it from another warehouse. We take it off an order. We do all kinds of things to pull it off, all right? And again, you're still wowing your customer, but we're killing this side with the amount of fires that we're fighting and the amount of time we're putting into offering this stellar customer experience. They're both great experiences, but one has a low cost of doing it because it's part of their business. The other one is killing their bottom line because, again, they're pulling it off, but it's a scramble to get it pulled off. You don't have to have that scramble. I work with many companies where we have a flawless or great customer experience. We have great profitability, and the organization is built around that to do it smoothly. And I'll share an example with you that I share with often with a lot of companies. I sat on, well, this has been a while back, sat on a board and did a lot of work with an electrical distributor out in New Mexico. And I'll draw a little line here. This company was set up that you would come in the building, and over here was what they called the bullpen. All right, now this is going back 10 years or so. I don't know, remember, but the bullpen is where all the outside salespeople sat and the inside. That's where the action took place. And you would come in the building here, and there's the receptionist was here, and there was this little room I used to sit in right here where I'd come in and do some work with them. We were in there about 3 years, and one day a rep came in. I couldn't tell you who it was, but he's talking to the receptionist, and you can see around this corner into this bullpen area where all the salespeople inside and out are. And he goes up to the receptionist. He goes, how much are you guys down in business? She goes, what are you talking about? Well, God, we used to look out in that bullpen, and it was crazy. People were everywhere. Phones were ringing. People were running around. There were papers flying. I mean, it was active out there. He's looking out there, and it's quiet. There's a few people sitting there. There's not all that chaos and running around he used to see. And he asks again, how much is the company down? And she goes, we've had record growth the last 3 years, 30-some%. We are double this company we were 3 years ago. What am I talking about here? That's the two companies we were just talking about. We went in, we put in procedures, education, and took advantage of their technology to be good tools. We put balanced objectives in. We knew how to deliver stellar customer experience at the lowest cost to serve. This company was probably about a 4% bottom line. They were an 8 or 10% bottom line 3 years later. They were double the size. They still had the same warehouse space. Everyone hear that? Double the size, same warehouse space. twice the company, twice as good. They were doing it because of the way they ran their operation. It wasn't the firefight where it used to be 3 years later. Everyone there? You get to choose. Now, a lot of you are not in positions, but you can still take this back and try to bring this concept. Already at the break, that first hour and a half is very powerful, setting the big picture. And there's already people going, wow, our executive couldn't make it, wish they would have seen this. Or they weren't coming, but I'd really loved them to see that first day, and we have some of that going in. That's the basis we're going to use for everything going forward. Thanks for the mic change, Jeff. That's working nice. Selena, are you in here? She wasn't here earlier. She helped you. Everyone met her through, but if something comes up at the break, you need something, Selena's here helping me out as well with past, so go ahead and, you can hit her up and she'll get you taken care of within reason, okay? All right. So company objectives. Let's just make sure. We procure, we warehouse, operational, and we sell, all right? Customer experience, availability, on-time delivery, accuracy, issue resolution, fair price. All right? Your price is all determined on up here. If you have a distinction above your competition, you can charge accordingly. If you're the same as your competition, you're just selling the same product now at the lowest price rather than a fair price. If you're in the lowest price world, someone will always be able to come in and underprice you at some point. That's a tough world to live in. Now, it's still very competitive. In some worlds, you have to be the lowest price. All right, I work with one, they're in the electrical lines and telephone. The margin's 10, 12% in that world. All right, but it is still very price-oriented, so they have to operate very well. But again, overall, companies that have a better customer experience and concentrate on that and bring this along for the ride reasonably are the most profitable companies out there today. Are we out there generating more revenue? Are we charging $1.27, $1.27, $1.25? Are we out there working cost of goods sold? Or what a lot of you think of as, are we having gross margin improvement? Have we stopped the erosion that hit many of you 5, 6, 7 years ago? All right, and the bleeding. Then, how do we reduce the costs? The total cost. Freight, in, out, and inbound. Cost of transactions, OEs, POs, WTs, and work orders. Cost of fires that we just talked about. Cost of inventory, cost of AR. Can we bring the total cost? And I'm going to keep driving this. I go into many, many companies, and they'll go, oh, we just bought a 120-day supply because it got us free freight. But if that freight wasn't larger than the cost to carry 120 days of inventory, did I win? Absolutely not. It's the total cost I need to reduce, okay? So I'm looking at that as a total, not in itself. So again, customer experience, profitability, longevity, growth, profitability, good asset management, good cash flow. I can increase both service and profits at the same time. All right? Service up while cost to serve down. And again, a key, that balance that I keep talking about. Profitability and longevity. I go into companies, and either companies 20 years ago were very profit-oriented and customer experience didn't matter. And those companies, a lot of them, if you start thinking, because you'll think about this stuff, you'll go, wow, I remember, and they don't have to be distributors, you'll just think of companies. You go, they were one of the biggest in the 90s, and they're gone today. And start doing a little research. 3 out of 5 businesses, 3 out of 5, go out of business because of loss of customers, not profitability issues. Everyone hearing that? Because their customers erode away to the competition steals them. They push them away by the things they're doing. Now again, it turns into profitability. You can't survive because you lost so many customers. But 3 out of 5 go out of business because of customer retention issues. All right? So again, balancing longevity, profitability, bless you. All right? And again, I also talk about growth, cash flow, asset management. And let's spend a minute here. Not a lot of people talk about employee happiness in the United States. Now, I've had the benefit of working in Europe. I've got a sister that lives there and a niece. I've spent a lot of time in Canada, all right? And again, you'll see a mixture, a different approach. My brother-in-law, he worked for a company called DMS, which was very similar to R3M, over in Holland. It was the big everything company in the chemical world. And he came over, and this was going back a while back after my sister and him got married, and he was here about a week, and he came in, he saw one of these sessions. He was going out to some companies here, and he came back one night. We were sitting there having some wine, and he goes, "Gal, you folks in America just live to work, or work to live." You'll figure out which way. And us in Europe, we work to live. What's the difference in those two? My brother-in-law was saying, "God, I see folks here that have more money than they spend, but yet they keep working. You guys with me? Versus over in Europe, they work enough to get a particular lifestyle." You go over to Europe in August. Who's been in Europe in August? Just to put it out there. You don't find many people there, at least the locals. Why? They've all taken they don't have this big $100 million caravan. They've got a camper, and they packed up their family, and they're all down on the Riviera in August. All right, they all took a month off, and everything's closed. Anyone imports from Italy knows about this very well. Anyone bring product out of Italy? You know all about the shutdown and such in August, right? I mean, that's just the way it works. And where I'm going with that is, it's a different. Now, Canada is a little bit of both. You'll see that they have a little bit of the American, hey, we have to work as hard as we can all the time. And they bring a little bit of the Europe, hey, we work enough to get by, and a good balance in between. But where I want to take that, and what I realized out of that, is in Europe they talk still a lot about employee happiness. How many of your companies talk about employee happiness? There's going to be a few, and it's getting more. But it's not one of the normal things, right? So here's what I'm saying. Let's be realistic now. Most of us, if we won, not the $1 million lotto maybe, or the $500,000, but if we won that big $100 million lotto, you hear about those folks, they go, "Oh, I'm still going to work." What are you, nuts? All right? 98% of us, me, I can already tell you, a lot of people know me well enough. I'd be buying some Caribbean island. I'd be down, yeah, you could come down and see me, and we'd hold some sessions down there maybe, but sorry. I love you all very much, but I would probably not be working as much or as hard. Now, there's a few in here, those diehards, no matter what, they just love to work. Where I'm going with this is, most of us don't create happiness at work. We don't go to work to get happy. It's what we do to live our life. But our employee happiness plays dramatically into the results we're getting. All right, and here's where I'm at. And I've got someone, I don't know if I'll share it or not today. We'll see whether I get to bring it up. But you're all thinking gas gauge, but I'm saying happiness meter. This is the employee's happiness meter. And what goes on, and for most of our employees, is they somehow go home at night and get recharged. We'll talk about that. Then they come in during the day, and there's already 43 emails waiting of issues to resolve, 33 pink stickers, yellow stickers, whatever it is, pasted all over, and they're going, "Oh, God." How happy are they again? Let's just check. All right, and the way we run our business, accomplish the stellar customer experience, but through the ant farm methodology, rat race, and we'll pull it off, and we'll steal, and we'll do this and that, and it's crazy all day. Now, there's a few of you that life's exciting. We call that the firefighting life, right? You're a firefighter. And there is a certain amount of excitement and adrenaline that goes with that, but also, just so you know, firefighting is a dangerous job, all right? Things happen there. What about Smokey Bear? What is he? He's back. Anyone that didn't, for a long time I couldn't talk about Smokey because when I was a kid, Smokey was on all the time. Then he disappeared. I think he won the lotto. He was on his Caribbean island. He spent his money too quick, though, so if you notice, he's back. But Smokey Bear talks all about what? Prevention, preventative. Don't get there to where you have to put out the fire. That's the key. And 98% of us would do better as fire preventers. A few of us like to be firefighters. But the point is this. We come home at night, we recharge, we'll talk about that, and then we get into work each day. And all the things, the yellow stickies, the phone calls, the disgruntled customers, the finger point between departments, the unbalanced objectives from management. We could go all day, all right? But all those things erode our happiness. Because again, most of us don't go to work to get happy. So I'm not going to try to say that we do, that we create happiness for a few of you. But we steal a tremendous amount of our employees' happiness by the way we approach the business, all right? And then they've got a way. They come home, and believe me, your spouses, they know exactly, you guys all know what I'm talking about, same with your spouse. You know exactly how much happiness got stolen from them that day when they get home, right? You know whether the gauge is on 3/4, hey, I can say hello, or it's on empty, or the red light's going off, you're going, I'll stay away a couple hours, all right? Now, how do a lot of us recharge it? Some of us go golfing. Some of us spend time with our kids. Some of us go on a walk. Some of us, it's a six-pack. Whatever it is. But you have your method of recharging, and then you go back to work the next day, and it gets sucked away. All right? If you can go start eliminating these fires and approaching your company from a systematic approach, a team approach, and things happen by the way you do business, and you don't have all these fires, your employees, we will not steal nearly as much happiness. They will be better employees for you. There's absolutely no doubt. How many believers I have in that? That we steal a lot of happiness, and if we didn't steal as much, we'd be better employees. So a lot of this is geared around that as well. I know you're going, thought we were going to talk inventory. We are, but we're going to talk how to run a good distributor, how to make it so it's a nice place to work, how it can't, not just a good distributor for 2 years and falls apart. All right? So we want to watch this employee happiness, that we don't steal too much during the day. All right? So that's what I wanted to talk about here. Balance is the key here. I'll come into companies and 1 month they're, hey, we got to cut inventory, drive up profitability. That's all they say. Customer experience goes through the floor. Next month they come out of the meeting, hey, we got to buy inventory. Our customer experience isn't there. They buy inventory. Next month they look at the P&L, and they're what I call the teeter-totter company. All right? Just depending on who was at the meeting, they come out. 1 month they're on this, 1 month they're on this. There should be a balance in those meetings all the time between profitability and longevity, and all objectives should be mentioning both